So the way that we create as humans is through using language. So we use language, and there's an image in our head, and then there's an emotion that's attached to that image, and then we derive an opinion, or what's called a belief. And that belief then tells us how to behave throughout the day. So super easy example is I see ice cream, right? I get an emotion, I love ice cream, and so then it creates a belief that I love ice cream, and then, so when there's ice cream in front of me, I eat it because the belief is I love ice cream. So this is the way that we create our belief system, which dictates our actions every single day. And so whether you acknowledge it or not, this is the way that the brain is creating beliefs that create the directives, the subconscious directives of our actions every single day. So if you're not getting if you're not behaving in a way every single day that supports your vision, it's because those beliefs are messed up. And so what happens is when those beliefs are messed up, they show up in our lives in a number of ways. The first way is it causes like paralyzation. So paralyzation looks like when we procrastinate, when we put things off to the next day, when we put things off, well, I'll start Monday, or I'll start at the beginning of the month, or I'll start at the beginning of the year, instead of taking action like right now. And then when it comes to Monday or the beginning of the month or the beginning of the year, we make a new agreement inside our minds and say, well, I'll do it next year or next month or whatever. So that procrastination eats up time. And time is such a precious resource, especially in everything. In business, like days matter. When it comes to finding your person, days matter. When someone is sick and they have a degenerative disease that causes them to have a month to live, days matter. And so every day that you choose to put those things off is another day that you lose. And so that's caused by the broken belief system. So procrastination, or pardon me, the paralyzation also shows up in our integrity. So our integrity is when our thoughts, our words, our actions are all the same thing. And so we have the thought, we make the commitment, and then we go to take the action, but then we take a different action. And what that shows is that our deep down belief is that I don't want to do this for whatever reason. And it's sometimes really, really difficult to see why that is. And if you go into the precise language section of this course, you'll see how you can illuminate what it is that's standing in your way. The next way that it messes with our minds is it creates a loop. And a loop is when you're actually taking action, but you're not making any progress. And so this can be an element of something strategic that you might not be seeing. This might be like you're doing what you think is right, but it's actually not the thing that gets you there. And so seeing what's getting you there requires you to have a vision of what's going on and having a desire of what you want it to be, and then connecting those two things. But if you can't see really what you're doing wrong, but you still take action, you're going to continue to take action, but never quite get to the place that you want to be. So the third way is in overwhelm. So when and everyone's experienced overwhelm before, right? I'm sure you have. I certainly have myself. And when you experience overwhelm, what that is when the chaos in your mind exceeds your ability to digest it and understand it, we get into this state of overwhelm. And this is when we get anxiety. This is when you get depression. This is when you're short-tempered with your friends, or you lose sleep, or you find yourself distracting yourself with things that give you really quick pleasure hits, watching TV, eating junk food, so on and so forth. And so in the process of creation is really turning chaos into order, because the universe left to itself, goes back to a state of chaos. And what consciousness does is consciousness flows chaos through it and turns it into order so that you may progress. But if you are in a state of overwhelm and you're not able to handle the amount of chaos that you're experiencing, then your creation mechanism turns off, and your impulsive mechanism turns on, and you basically just become a slave to your impulses. This is what makes you short-tempered. It's what makes you spend stupid money. It's what causes you to eat foods that don't serve you, be in relationships that don't serve you, because you're just acting on your animalistic impulses, and you're not owning the conscious creator in you that is our gift of being a human. So how do we change this? Okay, so the way that the brain makes, the way that the brain takes action towards the things that it's designed, or that it's desiring to do, is there's a portion of your brain that has a desire. I want to do this, and then it sends a message to the action element of you, the part of you that takes action, and it sends a communication down a pathway that says, do this. I want to behave this way. Behave this way. And there's a communication between the two. So what we want to do is we want to create a really deep channel of communication, so in the midst of chaos, that message doesn't fly off the path and go towards somewhere else. So we need to create a path that's deep, so it's easy for that message to go through, and that's reinforced. So throughout the chaos of life, or when you start getting anti-evidence that you don't deserve what you want, or you can't do it, that you still continue to behave in a way throughout that chaos. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to explain to you how the brain creates that deep channel for that message to flow through easily, even in a state of chaos. So there are 3 things that help create this channel. 1 is repetition, 2 is the emotion that you're feeling, and then 3 is evidence. And so every belief that you have, if it's deeply ingrained, it has had multiple elements of all 3 of these things: repetition, emotion, and evidence, to create that channel. So repetition is essentially having this belief and just stating it over and over again. Okay? So I am a successful entrepreneur. I love my body. Let's just say I am a success. Okay? So I am a success is an idea of who you want to be, and then behaving in a way that reflects that is, we want to send that communication. So if you simply just say, like, I'm a success, I'm a success, I'm a success, that helps, but that's only one element of the repetition of constantly reminding yourself of who you want to be. Okay, so I want you to think about this as if we're making a channel in dirt. Okay, and so if we're making a channel in dirt, I'm looking for my pen here. I have a selfie stick. Okay, and we're making a channel from this point to this point here. What we do is we take the stick and we make repetition over and over again. And the more repetitions you make, the deeper the trench gets. Okay, so the next part is emotion. So like heavy emotions is in like the visceral experience of whatever that belief is, creates a deeper channel. So I want you to imagine this as the more emotion that you have as you're stating your affirmation, the more pressure you're putting down when you're making that channel. So imagine if I press with like 100 pounds of force and I just draw one time, right? I'm going to create a deep channel that possibly I could go over it 1,000 times with just lightly to create that same channel, or I can press really, really hard one time and create an equally deep channel. So we're going to leverage both of those. This is how PTSD works. When the example that I give is a soldier that's been at war, okay? And a soldier that's been at war may have had a very traumatic experience where they hear missiles and bombs and stuff like that, and then they experience something traumatic, like a fellow soldier being killed in combat. And so it happened one time, but since it was so very emotional and impactful, because that's like the most emotional thing you can experience, it can happen one time and it sticks with you forever. And it's really hard to not associate the sounds of bombs going off to that. And so and create an association that brings them back. So for the average person during 4th of July, when you hear fireworks going off, you're like, oh, you almost want to go outside and see what's going on. But as someone who has heard those sounds and associates that to a very traumatic event, it can bring them back to that moment. So, creating that association. And so we're going to leverage that same concept to actually build positive, not trauma, but positive impact on what you believe that this means. So finally, then it's evidence. So we're saying the affirmation over and over and over again. And we're using a lot of emotion, so we're using a lot of pressure as we do it over and over again. We create this deep channel. Well, the thing is like life happens. And as life happens, roads, channels erode. So if you're to make a dirt path like this, but then you don't tend to it for a long time, eventually the walls start to collapse and the land evens itself out over time. And so we need to reinforce this. So a way to reinforce it is to have that deep channel, but then to pour concrete on the inside of it. So it's there forever. Okay? And the way that we do that is by creating evidence. Because evidence is actions that we've experienced that can't be argued. Like I believe that I'm a success, and then I did something and I was successful. You can't take that away from someone. I'm sure that Bill Gates, when he dropped out of Harvard, people told him that he was crazy, that he was throwing his future away, that he's giving up a great opportunity to go to a prestigious school. He's going to end up broke, and that may have shook his confidence when he made that, because he took a leap. He took a leap with no evidence. That's faith, by the way. But now, $100 billion later, if someone were to tell him, hey, you're crazy for quitting Harvard, like there's so much evidence that he made the right choice by the millions of pieces of software that he sold and changing the way that the world connects with each other, that there's so much evidence that can't be shaken. You can't shake that pathway between I'm making the right decision and the actions that require that. And so every single day, we need to repetitively remind ourselves of our affirmations. And we need to feel and believe it without the evidence. Okay, we need to feel it so much as we project that into the world, and then we need to create evidence. Once you do that, once you create that evidence and you create that deep channel, then the signal between your intention and your action becomes really, really efficient. Really, really efficient. So much that it almost seems instantaneous. And when your intention of how you want to behave and your action seems almost instantaneous and effortless, this is what we call flow state. Okay? When there's no impedance between intention and action. And this is what I mean by making your actions towards your success effortless. So we always act 100% of the time in complete congruence with what we truly believe about ourselves. And so when we take that leap and we believe it, there's no reservation, there's no apprehension, there is no fear. You can see this with elite level athletes. They intend for their body to do something, and then their body does it, all the way to the point to where they have the confidence to stand 2 feet from a ball that's traveling 100 miles an hour in baseball, or to make a diving catch that may possibly hurt your body, but since they have so much confidence and evidence and flow state of the command over their body, they're able to put themselves in potentially harmful situations with full confidence while still getting it done in the midst of a super chaotic experience. And so this works in every area of your life. Whether you want to build a relationship, build your body, build your business, get your message out there, spend or have your art become your living, whatever your big vision is, it's possible to create a channel between your intention and your actions. And again, the deeper that we do that by using these principles, the less impedance there is between the intention and action. And when those almost become the same thing is when you hit flow state and it becomes effortless. So you literally can rewire your brain by using the tactics of repetition, emotion, and evidence in creating whatever behavior that you want by first stating your intentions and the belief that supports that. Now, how do you know when this is working? You know this is working when you have an intention and then your actions reflect it. But so often, we are actually doing this. We're actually taking the actions that are required for us to support that belief, but we don't recognize it. And so we need to pay attention to ourselves. When you pay attention to the evidence that you have created, that is what uploads it into your subconscious as a directive, as like, this is just the way that I behave. And so this needs to be done on a regular basis because the chaos of life happens every single day and it starts eroding at those walls. So just like any other road system, that you build a road, you build the concrete, you make it solid, but it needs to be serviced. It needs to be, when it's broken, it needs to be serviced. So how do you know when it's broken? Well, you know when it's broken when you experience paralyzation, a loop, or overwhelm. And when you experience one of those things, then you know that needs maintenance. And then you figure out, what belief am I not acting in accordance to? What belief am I not congruent with? And then you go back to imprint that belief. It really is that simple, okay? And there's a difference between simple and easy. So it is very simple, but it does require discipline. It does require mindfulness. It does require you experiencing your pain, and instead of being reactive to it, you actually properly respond to it. And so within imprinting this, it's going to require you to have a belief that this works. And as you experience this in the first 2 weeks that you do this, you're going to start to see how this works. And so it's only going to maintain itself when you maintain it, when you've got the discipline to continue to do these imprints. And so in this program, there are all sorts of tools for whatever monsters show up. There are some tools for you to be able to address that, so you can get back into your imprinting, and you can start creating, or you can start enforcing the channel between your intentions and your actions.